I'm Tom Layson, and this is a Northwest Now Extra. Seattle's homeless problem is well known, but suburban locations like along the banks of the Puyallup River are seeing a new wave too. Every year, volunteers go out on a cold night in January to count the region's homeless population. This year, King County's count is up 19% to about 4,500, and that number doesn't even include people in shelters. Pierce County's count is up a whopping 37% to almost 500 people. While the Pierce County number is still a lot smaller than King County's, the homeless are becoming much more visible in suburban areas like Puyallup, where there are just fewer places to live that are out of sight and out of mind. From the banks of the Puyallup River to undeveloped lots scattered across town, the homeless are a more frequent sight in Puyallup these days. Residents who've moved here for a quiet suburban life say they've seen major changes over the past couple of years, and not for the better.
I moved into downtown Puyallup because I love the ability to be able to walk up to the Fred Meyer. It's a very walkable area. Over the last 3 years that I've lived here, I've seen it just progressively worsen to where I don't feel safe walking my own daughter up to the Fred Meyer and having to carry pepper spray around now and seeing dirty needles, piles up of garbage, and I mean it's a nice neighborhood, but it's unfortunate what's happened.
A big cleanup effort has bikers and others back on the Riverwalk Trail, but homeowners all along the river are now on high alert. As for people like Judy Rich walking alone on the trail, well, she says she still feels like she can do it safely.
I feel bad for the homeless situation. I do not know how to correct it. I don't know how to make it better. I see it in a problem in our city and our county that just really needs to be addressed to give the homeless a better fighting chance.
But you're okay with walking on the Riverwalk Trail?
I am okay walking on the Riverwalk Trail. We have a mutual nodding respect for each other, and those who are on the trail I do not feel threatened by.
For about a year and a half now, the New Hope Center Ministry has run a daytime drop-in center in downtown Puyallup, part of a network of organizations providing meals and helping the homeless access services to help with income, housing, and addiction.
So what we're going to do is we're going to start with this one right here. So we just try and bring as many outreach services as we can into the center to be here when folks do come in, as well as refer all of the people that come in out to the services that are available and just connect them and keep that connection going. What we're seeing is there's a lack of what I would call low barrier housing. So folks can't, even when they do have income, what you might consider like the working poor or someone who's on Social Security or SSI, and so they have income, but they can't get into housing because the barriers are too high. There's an application process. There's an income requirement that's maybe 2, sometimes even 3 times the rent that they have to have as a documented income. There's looking at their past evictions, credit checks, and then background checks. So even when somebody has money or is on SSI, getting through those barriers and getting into even affordable housing for them is really difficult. So I think that's a big trend that we're seeing is a lot of people are there's a lack of affordable housing, but there's a very serious lack of low barrier housing to just get people into it. And then supportive housing, so hooking people who need maybe a little bit of a case management aspect to their support in order to keep their housing stabilized.
New Hope's building was off limits for weeks due to code violations, but now has a permit to open again. But some neighbors aren't happy about that because they blame New Hope for importing the homeless to Puyallup. Former state senator and Puyallup native Jim Castema is one of those people.
For one thing, their location. They're a little bit more than a block from an elementary school. And they attract people not only who need help with homeless issues, but they also attract drug dealers, criminals, vagrants, and we've seen this time and time again. In addition, they seem to not want to take responsibility for the impact that the people have on this entire community. For example, on this park, behind you there is a bridge which I've witnessed prostitution, countless acts of drug dealing have been taking place down here, on and on, all of which they deny there's any connection to the Hope Center. And part of it can be very well the fact that Many of those people who run the Hope Center aren't really from Puyallup. They don't live here. They don't live with those actual consequences, and that makes a big difference. In some respects, they're being generous with things they have no right to give away. They have no right to give away the safety of the people in this community so that they can feel generous towards others. That's not their right. That's not theirs to give.
But there's always been a homeless problem in Puyallup. It's a rail town, and DSHS and local churches and the hospitals have always been service providers. While New Hope's downtown location might increase the visibility of the homeless, Borden says there is not a cause and effect relationship.
Before New Hope opened, the homeless people were here. That's why they had a strategic plan that an entire committee got together to build, was in response to the homeless people here in Puyallup. So I think the concept that somehow there was no homeless people in Puyallup and then all of a sudden New Hope came in 2014 and there were, is just not true. Homelessness is definitely growing, and from the point in time count that you can see that it's grown significantly over the last 2 years. And so I think there is an element of, when you are the only shelter or resource services for homeless individual adults in all of East Pierce County of this sort, there's going to be a little bit of a draw going on there, okay? There's going to be a little bit of a draw, certainly when Freezing Nights is going on, because the shelter program is in place. People move back and forth between here and Tacoma both ways all the time. So I don't necessarily think that the homeless problem here in Puyallup is necessarily caused by New Hope at all. It was definitely in full force when we opened. We were just trying to be part of the solution, and we continue to be, part of the solution.
Borden says New Hope has gotten 100 people off the streets into sustainable lifestyles. And the New Hope clients I spoke with say they've seen it too, and it's given them hope.
Cheryl, I can say this for a fact, that girl, let me tell you what, miracle lady, really, because I've seen some people that have come in here that I would never thought in my wildest dreams would ever get their straight, and they did. Straight up. And I mean, people you never would have thought would have got out of the gutters, and now they're completely back, normal people doing normal things, and have a house now, car, job, all that. It's crazy. And when you see that with your own eyes, why can't that be me? You know what I mean? So that's part of the reason why I come here too.
To see our full discussion about homelessness in Pierce County, be sure to look in the Northwest Now section of kbtc.org. Northwest Now airs Friday nights at 7:30 right here on KBTC, and be sure to look for more stories like this one by following us on Facebook and Twitter at Northwest Now.